Breathe in. Hello and welcome once again to the Parkinson's Walks virtual family and anybody else that cares to join us. Right, housework first then. If you want, I've plugged in just to watch the film. Excuse me, usual spluttery start. Then if you jump forward about 20 minutes, it should be round about there waiting for you. The rest of us are going to enjoy the comments that have come in over the last two films in what we call Matters Arising. So the first film we're going to look at is one that went out then 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's going to work out about right. 2 weeks ago, and it was sunrise and a sunset down in lovely glorious Cornwall. But before we get started on that one, Rodney has jumped in on raising the tale of the Morgan Cars visit that we did a few weeks ago, where I unfortunately offered to marry the cook, only to find out it was a fellow, not a lady. Rodney says, your banana betrothal story made me chuckle. Yes, it did my young son who was with me. They call him young, he's well in his 50s now. My young son who was with me, who nearly fell off his chair laughing. He was no help whatsoever. But I will go back there again because it's worth it just for the toasty sandwich. But I'm going to have to wait until they've forgotten what I look like, I think. Hope they don't watch this. No, they wouldn't do that. Jim from New Zealand enjoyed the daffodils. Yeah, we showed a few shots of daffodils at the start. You like the sunset as well? Yes. Jim said after watching it he was hoping to watch a lunar eclipse. Well, Pauline was the same, because the timings will be different, I guess. But Pauline was the same, and she was up half the night. And Jim says there was almost 100% cloud cover, so we missed it. Well, so did Pauline, and for the same reason. It had been clear up until the eclipse time, and then the clouds came in. And as Jim said, it must have been one heck of a cloud if it went all the way from New Zealand up to here. And there you are. West Country Wanderings, our Paul, filming like a good one as per usual. And he's just watched the film before filming a special event locally today, a steam event. Yeah, it turns out that at Bristol docks, they'd resurrected some of the old railway lines and run an engine on, a steam engine on it. Very historic looking. First time that's been done in a while. Yeah, so look out for Paul's film. It'll be about, no doubt. Michael from Poland said, we don't have daffodils in Poland other than the imported varieties found in supermarkets. Matters arising. No bikes yet. Michael's good lady, well, she might be young as well, of course. Michael's good lady has threatened to make them both buy a bike and go out cycling everywhere. Oh dear. It says no bikes yet. Max has been busy buying lots of new furniture and changing rooms around. Ah, well, she's distracted then. Well done, Michael. It's costing you a bit, but it's well worth it. Perhaps the bike idea has gone away, although I'm sure it's only for a while. I'll keep you posted. Thanks, Michael. Keeps up to speed on the bike situation. Ah, yes, Mike from Fireball XL 55. Padstow, it says, my daughter and her work colleagues are staying there this week, and that's because it was a Cheltenham race week. So Cheltenham just gets absolutely bunged up solid at Cheltenham race week, as you can probably imagine. The tourists all flock in and the locals all flock out. Yes. So there's good escape down there then to Padstow. Malcolm Richardson. Looking forward to your visit to Colwall in the Malverns. I sometimes imagine myself sitting on the Worcester Beacon watching the sunrise and sitting on the Herefordshire Beacon watching the sunset. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, there's a cue for a film there, I reckon, Malcolm. Yeah, it's good. Marilyn, excuse me. I always have this sort of spluttery start. It does get better, I think. Oh, Marilyn again. Good morning. Back into hibernation again, as here we have had frost. Yeah, the weather can't make its mind up. Well, we've had some sunny days to compensate. But it was a nice day out for an outing last Saturday, she said, once it warmed up. So I went to Stockport and had a nice picnic on the platform. That's Marilyn's go-to adventure. Is to go to the railways, sit on the platform and have a picnic. How lovely. Watch the trains going by. Wonderful. Yes, oh dear. I crossed over the footbridge, she says, and that moment a high-speed Avanti went through on the downside, and I stupidly tried to look at it and found myself sitting on the curb. My first thought was, oh dear, they have CCTV here. I hope no one saw. Never mind them watching. Never mind at all. How are you? Next was, how do I get up again? Yeah, we few of us know that feeling. Well, I managed it somehow. I sat on a seat till the train back north appeared. Next thought was, I mustn't tell my daughter. She gets towed off again. Poor old Marilyn gets injured and gets towed off into the bargain. Yeah, you be careful, Marilyn. Goodness me. You're putting us to shame, aren't you, really? We all love to travel on railways, and yet we don't do it. Yet there are you out there, whenever you're able, and riding the rails. Well done, Marilyn. For an elder sister, you're doing very well. Engage on a shelf. Simon then. He's on about Cornwall. When we visit prior to the school holidays, we're hoping it would be possible to walk and park around without rubbing shoulders like in the height of summer. You go there in the summer and you can't see the sights for people. But you've got to go out of season to get the best of it. He said, I'll do my usual of standing outside every shop with the dogs while the boss goes in to look around. I might get a pasty as a reward. I don't count on it. Good old Simon. David, all the way from Spain. The treasure, he says. David likes treasures. I remember that part of the film, but less so other parts. By the looks of things, you'll soon be out in the garden, although Mum tells me this morning it's been very frosty. Yeah, that's what Marilyn was just saying, wasn't it? We've had some nice sunny weather, but we pay for it in frost. Never mind. David's producing videos. He said I've got at least 3 videos in the making, and they're all out and on file now, so if you want to pop across to David's channel, have a look at the films. It's his local area. My gosh, is it rugged. There's a path through it all which David takes us on, but without that path you wouldn't get very far, I don't think. And it's a very, very steep gorge he takes us into, and yet up on the skyline there are houses built overhanging, and the geology there doesn't look very sound, I have to say, but there you go. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good look. But they must have had quite a bit of ranges lately as well then, because a number of the reservoirs in Spain have had to release water because they're so full. And of course some places have flooded, he says, but nothing like what happened in Valencia last year. Yeah, so that's the weather for you in Spain. Right, the film, which was last week's film, which was a visit to Colwall, yes that's right, Colwall station. I made a bit of a mistake on there by inserting a Colwell rather than Colwall. I got told off quite rightly. But yes, it's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. Right now, normally you don't get in the comments unless you provide a name, but this one we've got to forgive for a reason which becomes apparent very quickly. Another great video. I'm a driver for the GWR on the North Cotswolds and Hereford route, and it's always great to see the history of places we call out so frequently. Keep them coming. Well, strange to think that, isn't it? That the drivers don't really know the history of every station they visit. That's probably pretty difficult. But even so, yeah, there you are. So well done. Give us a wave next time. Pete Payne, thanks for the film, he says. At least there's a station of sorts left to see. Well, that's true, isn't it? Very often all we've got is a few lumps and bumps in the middle of nowhere, and that's your station. But this one, yeah, there is still a station there. True. Michael, Poland. Springtime greetings from Poland. It might be towards the end of March, but it's really pretty chilly here, he says. Oh dear. Lovely video from a lovely location. If this is Herefordshire's quietest station, I wonder what the busiest must be like. Unmanned and with a wonderful old footbridge. If only the place could talk, what tales it could tell. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, going back to the old steam, introduction of steam, the dieselisation and of the modern trains. Not to mention all the people, of course, that would have been involved. Well, if only it could talk. You're right. Roger Cook. Now, Roger, who's wintering in Thailand, as is his wont, and he'll be coming back to us over here shortly for the summer. But as I said to Roger, we've had some sunny days. You want to hurry up and get across here? That might be all we get. That could be our summer, folks. Anyway, Roger goes on to say, it just goes to show that a trip to a remote station can provide the traveller with so many opportunities for an interesting adventure. Now, here's the bit that'll get you all ticking. In relation to the station master's house, we're trying to determine which one was the station master's house. I would say that it's most likely the first one hidden in the trees. My reasoning for this, says Roger, is that the end ridge tile on the roof has attached to it what looks like the same type of pinnace that adorn the top of the old semaphore signals. So yeah, we call them a pinnacle. We call them a finicle, don't we, or something like that. I can't. My brain won't provide that now, will it? No, true. But yeah, so that's Roger's intelligent observation. That I didn't spot that. But yeah, it could very well be true, couldn't it? Railway build, station master has a dwelling. So put your pennies, 3 pennies in. Jim in New Zealand looked like a great spot for starting a walk. I noticed that the station seems to have most facilities, but I didn't see any loos. At my age, that would be the most essential facility, especially if there was a long wait for the train. Yeah, the thing is, if you put a toilet on a station, you've got yourself a maintenance issue, haven't you? But I suppose the railways would say, well, there are loos on the train. Use those. James Weeks. Hi James, all the way from Toronto in Canada. What a great station find, he says. Thanks for taking us up on the footbridge, but I'm afraid you'll get complaints from some quarters regarding, I thought I could hear running water. Yes, some of our more elderly viewers, the sound of running water and they're gone. Oh dear. Thanks for that, James. Yes, thanks for mentioning that. That's very kind of you. He said, having regained my sanity with a week off, yes, don't forget James was ferrying 50 boys on a 16-hour bus trip to the rowing regatta, or rowing training. So he needed a week to get over that. Back to work on Monday, he says. Now, weather in Toronto then, and get this, the weather has been up to 21 degrees Celsius, which was yesterday, and down to 4 degrees Celsius today. God, that's a variation over 2 days, isn't it? Blimey. He says typical spring here. Oh well. Right, Malcolm Richardson. Oh, Malcolm. Perfect station for exploring the Malverns by the looks of things, with its delightful bridge leading the way. I was looking for Colwall on the Ordnance Survey, but could only find Colwall. Yeah, my bad, I'm afraid. Right, we're on the last page. Back to Marilyn again then. Ah, she's out. Nice and sunny again here today. Very interesting to see Colwall station. Hardly more than a halt now, but it seems to be having a good train service, which you have to applaud nowadays, don't you just? Amazing how a platform just disappeared. Yeah, I mentioned that before, haven't we? You can see where it was, but there's just nothing there. Mother Nature's grabbed the lot. Anyway, Marilyn says she's had a good week and went to Grindleford Station Cafe last weekend, which had a fire going and is used by walkers and bikers and the odd elderly train spotters. I'll let you work out which one Marilyn is. Oh, dear. Also another trip to Stafford and saw several freights. Sunny picnic on the platform, perfect. Well done you, Marilyn. Keep it up. Good girl. Andrew. Return of an old friend here, Andrew. Andrew Merriman. He says, I'm fairly certain Mr. E.W. Tennant, which as you remember there was a plaque on the station to E.W. Tennant, who left the station in 1967, went on to open a model railway shop in Hales Owen, Worcestershire. Well, I'm blowed. I have a vague recollection of the owner of the shop telling me he had been a station master in the area some years ago, but that was in the 1970s. Well, I'm blowed, Andrew. Thank you for that information. Adds a bit of colour to it, doesn't it? So he didn't, well, I suppose he retired from the railways and then went and opened a model shop. Cool. And Simon from Engage on a Shelf would have appreciated that. David, lovely video. That was a busy little station, he says. I was intrigued by the goods yard photo and the footbridge, so I thought I'd have a look on rail maps, but there was nothing showing apart from the double track further up the line, which conflicts with the station photo. Ah, so well, the photo can't be wrong, I suppose, can it? Unless the photo wasn't taken there, it's taken somewhere else. But yeah, mystery. But then we've got somebody coming in very, very shortly to solve that mystery. And anyway, this is David talking from Spain then, who says winter's back with a vengeance this weekend. Again, oh blimey, we can't. You'd expect Spain to have warmed up by now, as we normally do. Well, I'm blowed, yeah. Winter's back. Engage on a shelf. A lovely old relic. Yes, yes, you are, Ronnie says. I'll get you, Simon. Everybody thought the same, but they all managed to resist saying it, didn't they? Good old Simon. Anyway, Trevor's return. You may remember Trev got swallowed up by YouTube, going back a while. Everything he put up disappeared. Anyway, he's persisted and he's put through a beautiful comment on this particular area station, fills in all the gaps, answers David's question of the single line and double lines, and he puts a really good comment together, as is his want. And he wants to put a plug in for the Pontypool and Blenavon Heritage Railway. It's their first running day this week, so they're back in action again, ready for the new season. Well done them, we'll all to get down there. And then Andrew pops in again and says, and he's done some work on the signal layout to try and confirm what was where. And he provides that information, which is typical Andrew. Well done. Oh, well worth a read. Really is. Right, now, archive. Yeah, I suppose I ought to say there, I suppose, all these comments are worth a read. I just take a chunk out of them, because otherwise we'd be here all day. But if you go back into the film and go and look at the comments, there's loads and loads and loads of extra information there. Very well worth a read, very well. You'll learn a lot. Right, archive film this week is Lydney Harbour. This is a film I did some while ago, and I understand that nowadays there's moves afoot to revamp the harbour and turn it into a tourist attraction. Not quite sure how they're going to do that, but anyway, this is it then as it was unspoilt. So Lydney Harbour, and then next week we're going churching. Well, that's coming up to Easter, isn't it? So we're going to have a look at a church. Might be the only visit to a church we're likely to do, the way things go these days. But yeah, so we're going to have a look at a church. There's some fascinating facts on this one. It's in Harbour, which is in west of Gloucester, I suppose. Is it west or northwest? Yeah, something like that. So we'll have a mosey around there, see what we can find out about the church and its surroundings. So I'll see you there next Friday. Don't be late. River Severn looking south from Sharpness. If we use a rather shaky zoom to look over the other side of the river, we can see a very historic structure over there, which is Lydney Harbour. First built with a canal in 1810 to 1813 and extended from there. There's one of the problems they had. Look at the silt inside that lower basin. One of the problems that you get with the Severn, I'm afraid. But then looking there to the left and the foreshore, and then if we zoom right, the foreshore there, and before the harbour, that's all you had. So it's a big improvement on that. And then if we look at the harbour again and then we pan slowly to the left, you can see the masts of the ships actually moored up in the canal. Still there. You'd have a look. And although it's very pretty on this side, we're going to have to cross the river. Take a closer look. And here it is up close, with the tide on the rise, I think. And looking a bit treacherous. The view upriver. A system of capstans or pulley wheels here leading to the capstan.
Seize for the capstan if we all turn around. He's for the davit to lower the boat down. Merrily, merrily, so merry.
And you can see the wear on this one, look at these grooves here. It's done a fair bit of work in its time. And all driven by a capstan. That would enable you to warp your sailing ship in and out of the harbour. No engines. Here's a curious feature, look, a lamppost. Except it's not, is it? Is it a manually operated lighthouse? No, I don't think so. It's a signal lamp, so there will be different coloured lenses at the top and they will rotate it shining out, so that would indicate to mariners whether the harbour was available, whether the gates were open. So this is the entrance to the harbour then. This is the first basin, which is the tidal basin, which would allow shipping to come in and go out at different heights of the tide, which may not correspond with the height of the canal in the lower basin above it. At the far end of this basin then are a pair of lock gates. Doesn't look like they have a water supply problem here, does it? And then above the lock gates is the lock proper, which is there, with another set of lock gates, which then lead you into the curiously named lower basin. And this is where all the boats would come to load and unload their cargo. Quite a wide basin, as you can see. So there were wharfs then, loading and unloading docks all the way down there and on both sides. And then above the basin is the canal proper, and that was accessed via this swing bridge, as you can tell by the curvature in the bricks there. And there's the canal then leading up into Lydney. A bird's eye view of the basic layout. Tidal basin down there first, then the lock, and then the lower basin, which is connected then to the canal to Lydney. So that gives you the basic layout. So now we can have a wander around and explore, see what we can find. You've got to be honest, it does look a little bit like a boat graveyard. One or two nice vessels in here. I don't think that's been anywhere lately. And crafts of all shapes and sizes. And I guess that once upon a time, somebody's pride and joy. Oh gosh, that looks a bit sad, doesn't it? Didn't even have time to use the lifebelt. Wandering back down dockside then, there's some of the old administrative buildings, now taken over by Lydney Yacht Club. Wonderful old building. And there's an inconspicuous looking office for the harbour master. Not very salubrious, is it really? But look at the wear on those steps. My gosh. A building there with no clues to what that might have been. And yet another store, administrative block. No, in fact it's the mortuary. Oh dear. And the building next to it, well built, as a store. Yeah, a chandler's store perhaps. And this huge great pillar here. Part of some other structure. No clue as to what that might have been. A bit of modern day artistry. It's rather good, isn't it? Right, and so now if we cross over to the opposite side of the loch, see what we can find, and the first thing we see is this absolutely beautifully restored original building. Look at that. No clue as to what it was, but it's sitting there dockside, so it must have been important. Wall, does that look railway? I think it might well do. And indeed it is, yeah, there you are. There's a turntable in the foreground, look. There's the remains of it in the foreground there. Amazing. Archaeology before your very eyes. Oh, look at that. Big old sailing ship. Shows you the sort of trade it had. Log barges waiting to go back to Avonmouth. And look at the size of the steamer there. It gives you an idea, doesn't it, the impression of size. Obviously not much on telly that day. And that's a lovely overall view of the dock. But look at this, look, this is by that turntable where you take the loaded coal trucks, tip them into the barges. And if we look today, some old bits of stone there, an old post. And then if we look up above there, look at that, part of the original pieces of the old structure. Amazing. And there, look, so you can work by night, the light. A lovely set of old stone steps there between those two levels. Absolutely stunning finds. Let's take a last look at the foreshore then. There you can see the stones piled up to absorb some of the impact of the tides, the waves. No idea what that is. And then if we look out there across the river again to Sharpness, that's where we started. And look at the size of those bollards, you get a lot of rope on there. Right, back at the so-called lower basin and down at this left-hand corner we find a sluice, and this controls the level in the basin. All the excess runs out there straight out into the Severn. This canal obviously didn't suffer from the usual problem of a lack of water, just like they might have had a little bit too much of it. Certainly a fair old flow running down there. And here you can see the padders to allow the water in and out of the lock system. Or let the water in rather from this direction. And some gorgeous old steps on this side, complete with a cone, taking you right down to water level. Gorgeous block work there. Round the corner. We'll leave the docks behind at this point and go back up to the railway level. And it looks like this is where they brought the coal in. You can tell it's railway, look, it's got railway fencing. And this is somewhat unique. Oh, there's some skill involved in that, crikey. Looking down river and now we have a wreck. Kind of. Spread out on the shore, actually it's put there to stabilise the shore. Once a working vessel. That'll be the bow then, or the stem if you prefer. Applied these waters, no doubt. All that's left. Right then. What do you reckon? Yeah, well, you would sat there, wouldn't you? Mind you, wonderful views and a quite stunning walk, to be honest. Very occasional glimpses of the canal. You wander off to the side. But that's what takes your attention. Down the estuary, out to sea. Another small visible patch of canal here. Look, hell of a lot of water in it. No issues with water on this one. Oh, I've seen a few of these in our travels. Blockhouse guarding the Severn. Eventually going to here, which is the head of this particular canal. I thought there was another one dug. Mr. Puttock. We went all the way then through Lydney and off to the upper forge. Job for another day perhaps. This is where the canal, just outside Lydney now, the railway, where it grinds to a halt. View of the canal from the opposite side, looking through the trees. I have to say, at least it's got water in it. Gentle stroll down here. On this piece of road I was expecting to find, because it goes alongside the canal, some wharfs or what have you. I'm sure they use this for loading and unloading, but I suppose if you're used to being up to your fetlocks in mud on the river, anything here was pure heaven. There is only one dock visible, and that's this one, complete with rails, look, for a crane. So I think we're going to call it a day. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Lydney Harbour. It's well worth a visit. If you enjoyed my film, please go to my channel, and there's another 50 films there waiting for you. Meanwhile, please subscribe, like or share. Catch you on the next one.